Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, say this is the morning podcast with Jacob and Ethan.
This is hell.
Do you mind if I say grace real quick? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts which you are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
All right, my name is Jacob Urok. Welcome to the Breakfast is Hell podcast. I'm here with Ethan Urok.
Hi, I'm Ethan.
Our first episode in some time.
A long time. So do you keep, is this a normal mellow start? I'm Jacob Urok. This is the Breakfast is Hell podcast.
I'm just here.
Dude, I don't think you've had like a morning podcast in a while.
They're all morning.
It's 8 in the morning. Are they usually this early?
They're just whenever it can happen. I wake up at, I wake up at 6 for work, 6:30.
You just don't seem like you're ready to go.
I'm here.
Like, to quote that radio station out of Colby, it's like, good morning, it's 8:10. Colby, Kansas is 100.3 The Ride.
I know.
You don't really have a lot of hell in your breakfast yet.
You don't think there's enough hell? I think this Breakfast is Hell has plenty of hell. I wonder if it has enough breakfast sometimes, but it certainly has a sufficient quantity of hell. You missed Mandays, by the way.
Thank you. I was going to either start about my homemade sausage, it's delicious, and then work my way into making it with all those men, or just talking about how I feel guilty as I eat this sausage because I miss Mandays. I was very surprised you actually went, believe it or not. I didn't think you would go.
I went for a day last year.
Oh, you only went for a day?
I went for a day this year. I thought Zach, our cousin Zach Urok, was going to be there. That's one of the biggest reasons. But he wasn't even there at all.
Why would you think he'd be there?
He was there last year for a day.
Was he?
I mean, I know the presence of his father, brings up every insecurity he has, but
He makes me insecure, too.
I think
Mark does.
Mark seems to. I think maybe that's the.
You feel the hate with Ron, but you really know that Mark's been thinking about your insecurities just for a little bit. He's put some actual effort into thinking about it.
See, I don't think Mark even thinks about your insecurities. I think.
He's that good at pinpointing them?
I don't know. I think that this is a story of a buddy of mine told this week that I called on the phone. But he's a manager at one of these big tech companies.
What tech company?
I don't want to say. I don't want to get him in trouble. That's
They're all bad. I want to know what flavor.
Yeah, so this guy's no, I can't. I don't want to get him in trouble. But they were all out for dinner. They took all the managers out. And they went to some swanky restaurant in New York, and literally the way he described it was literally something from a movie. Like, don't you know who I am? I'm a manager at.
No.
Yeah, and the server I think said something like, "Hello, sir," like something like that, like something really minor, and the dude or dudette, I don't know the gender or the chosen gender of the individual. I don't exactly know, but they flipped. I guess they flipped out, demanded the manager, yelled out, "Don't you know who I am? I'm such an..." And I've always felt a fella like that, or a lady like that, is not a very confident person.
Yeah.
Is someone, very insecure.
And are you trying to get around the point that was Mark?
I'm not saying Mark's insecure, but I'm not quite sure if you feel the need to show up to an event and perform your masculinity for everyone, it screams security.
But that's the thing with Mark. He's, he works at a fairly large genetically modified organization. That's really funny. He works at a place that makes plants. They make seed and stuff. But he never really talks about it as far as his own position or anything. Where the pride really comes out is when he's got better produce.
No, that's the funniest thing is my other uncle, Ron. We have many uncles. There are only two, but one of them is named Ron. He's sort of like a dropout, become vegetable entrepreneur. And, here is our Uncle Mark.
Mogul. He's a
Is a
produce
vegetable
mogul.
Vegetable mogul. Here's our Uncle Mark, who's got this very well-paying job. He gets to travel all the time. And yet Mark still, at the age of about 55, 60, feels this burning need to start his own vegetable business. And it's just watching the two talk. It's an exercise in restrained violence. Not that they dislike each other, but just
They dislike each other.
just the extent to which the vegetable growing is a pissing contest between the two of them.
I think I'm probably... I think I'm side Mark, though. I think he's got the better stuff.
Good for both of them.
You don't care? Oh, don't touch the mic, sweetie. Thank you.
I don't have a strong opinion. I think good for them to have their vegetable farms. I hope it...
You really don't have a preference. You don't think that Mark grows better corn?
Dude, I don't. Even my mom, I just don't care. I don't... why? How am I supposed to, objectively judge their corn? I've eaten one... I've never had that moment where I've thought, this is obviously better than Mark's watermelon. That's not something that's ever crossed my mind when I'm eating one or the other's produce, is to think, this is better than the others. He's more of a man. That's not a thing.
They're pretty much... Well, since you refuse to give your
This
opinion.
coffee is great.
Maggie, good job. She does this thing
Yeah.
where she, adds stuff to the coffee.
I need a wife, a housewife. Not even really a wife, but a housewife.
You don't...
What?
Just call me a housewife.
Not in a bad. That's not all you are.
I meant that as a compliment.
Yeah, that was
you
a
should
nice
be
thing.
so happy to serve Ethan.
I wish I had someone that would make things for me sometimes. Let me say it that way.
You have one demand. You have one thing that would make your life amazing, and that'd be a wife, making you a cup of coffee.
It would be great. I made cheesecake this last weekend.
Ooh.
First time.
And
Came out really great, but I used pie crust instead of a cookie crust or a graham cracker crust, and makes a difference.
that's my daughter screaming.
Yeah.
Last time she was on the podcast, she just kind of sat in my arms for a little bit. Much more mobile and
She's
vocal this
alive.
time.
She's a person.
She's yes. She's a little monster some days.
You think?
Oh yeah.
Well,
It's really weird to see her get really pissed off about no, you can't have a chip until you have your chicken, until you eat your chicken. And she doesn't understand that. She's not even 1.5. But then you read the news and Putin's like, no, I'm going to kill all you people because you didn't do what I told you. They're very similar. He's very similar to a toddler, I think. The more that I live with a toddler, the more I think Putin is a toddler.
you think if you're gonna do a coup, you don't get halfway there and think, "Oops, just kidding."
No, I think that was smart.
Yeah.
How do you say his name? Prigozhin?
Prigozhin, I think, is how I know to pronounce it.
He was why? He started it out with great intentions, and then halfway there, he's like, oh, this is bad. This is really, really bad. This is bad. Do you keep going? No, you're gonna get obliterated. But here's the thing. Did you know he was his chef?
No.
That guy that's in charge of the Wagner Group used to be Putin's chef, CHEF, not chief. Well, maybe the chief chef or the chef chief, but he was not just the chief. He was the chef.
One of the members of the Wu-Tang Clan is named Raekwon the Chef.
Shout out to my homies at work. We did a Wu-Tang name generator.
Okay.
It's pretty comical. I don't remember what mine was. It was like Westwood Slinger or something.
That's where Childish Gambino got his name.
I heard that.
Yeah.
That's actually how we got on the whole. You got it from the Wu-Tang Clan? Well, they have a name generator.
Is Childish Gambino the most white-friendly rapper?
No.
Who's the most white-friendly rapper?
Easily 50 Cent.
We think 50 Cent is more white-friendly than Childish Gambino?
100,000%.
What makes 50 so white-friendly?
He doesn't have a thing against white people.
You don't think?
No, I don't. Like, he doesn't have shit to say about Eminem other than, yeah, he's my homie. But, I don't really know anything about rappers. I watched the Eminem documentary movie, and then I watched the 50 Cent. And 50's was way better. But it wasn't like he had anything against white folks. He, starts out the movie with, I wonder what it would have been like if I had a white daddy, or something like that.
I was born a poor black boy.
No, he didn't say that.
No, you've seen The Jerk, though.
No.
Steve Martin?
No.
No?
No.
It's a movie.
No.
So it's Steve
You
Martin.
gotta realize after we watched Pootie Tang, no
What
more.
a time.
No more.
No more what?
No more Jacob.
No more movies with black people in them?
No more Jacob recommendations.
Wait, I thought that was something Maggie said that you should watch.
Oh, it was.
That was a Maggie.
That was a Maggie choice.
What a time.
And same thing with her. Her and anybody who likes Monty Python, automatically out the window. I don't care about your opinions.
We are the knights who say no. No.
Are you a fan?
Of Monty Python?
Yeah.
I'm not really a huge fan. I mean, some clips of it I find funny, but Pootie Tang I liked more than I thought I would. But also just like Black Dynamite, I sort of love these blaxploitation film parodies. Black Dynamite, Black Dynamite.
I haven't
Because
watched
I'm a
that.
racist, I guess. I don't know.
Who's not gonna laugh at it? What is a waffle wearing alligator shoes?
Donuts don't wear alligator shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think the intel, what's surprising to me about it is that it really seemed like in the day that he was doing it, it seemed a very off-the-cuff decision. But I guess he had been planning it.
Oh, really?
And he was not planning on carrying it out until I think a couple days later, but that he got word that the Russian intelligence agency got wind of it. So he was forced to move a little bit soon. And so now Putin, because, he moved into he got 100 miles from Moscow. He got halfway there from the Ukraine border. So, and they were destroying the roads from where he was at. So they were destroying the roads so he couldn't move with all his machinery.
The Russians were destroying the roads.
They were destroying the roads.
The Russian military was destroying the roads.
Past where the Wagner group was, between where they were in Moscow.
Oh, wow.
To stop their advance. Yeah, no, it was like they were actually concerned, it seems like. But what Putin seems to be doing now is he's trying to figure out how he even got that far, because so Prigozhin must have sort of been in cahoots with some of the military commanders.
Well, 2 of them have gone missing, 2 of the generals, right? Just
I don't
disappeared.
know, sure. Yeah, so I know there was one guy they were talking about on the news yesterday, but I don't know if he's missing. But yeah, they seem to think that he must have had some. It was. I think also he must have had some aid, but it seems also he seems to have been hoping for a sort of uprising, popular support around his movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got to get in the state-run media if you want to do that.
Huh?
If you're going to do that, you have to have some kind of state-run media. It has to be somewhere where the people can see it.
What does that have to do with Prigozhin?
If he's really wanting to make a coup, if he's really wanting to push this thing through, he has to the people need to know about it.
But he's not in control of the media.
Huh?
What do you mean he's not in control of the media?
No, but if you're in cahoots with the military, you damn sure need to have some outlet in the media.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm in a position to criticize Prigozhin's coup attempt. I'm not.
That's never stopped you before.
I'm not a
Who am I to say who could successfully pull off a coup?
I'm not quite sure what he should have done different. I'm not the coup expert.
It's COUP, right? Or
Yeah,
COUPE?
COUP,
Okay.
but pronounced coup.
I want to say it like that.
Cope?
Coop.
Coop? Coop. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I admire the coup attempt. I'm a coup fan, but I'm not necessarily a coup critic.
Shit, that's some good coffee. You refused. Let me get this. You refused to have any kind of constructive feedback for Prigozhin or Yurok Brothers Produce Wars. You don't care about either.
I didn't.
What do you care about if you don't care about either of those things? Because if you don't care about either of those things, there's a lot between the two.
I didn't realize there was a produce war.
A few do. Only the people in the know.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I guess my only thing about the coup is I feel like if you're gonna I wouldn't go halfway on a coup. Like I feel like it's one of those sorts of things when you're in, you're in. You know, you don't like start the coup and be like, "Rah, I didn't realize they'd be attacking us. Like,
Normally, I'd agree with you.
you know,
Normally, I don't know what you do in Russia though.
I think the funny thing, ironic thing for me is I don't know what it is with Russian generals and thinking that like they're gonna wage 3-day campaigns and everyone's gonna rush out into the streets to encourage them and it's gonna all go smoothly. But it's like a mere episode to what happened when they tried to get to Kiev a year and a half ago. Like Putin just thought they were gonna show up and be greeted as liberators and like take the city in less than a week. And it's sort of like, did you not think that maybe that wouldn't happen? Or that maybe you should be skeptical of things which just seem like your wildest dreams? That's really what I don't like. What in the hell was Prigozhin thinking that like Putin was just gonna be like, yeah, you can have it?
I don't know if you were telling me this, or maybe there's a guy at work telling me this. Didn't Putin have all indications that he would be able to walk in because everybody was giving him crappy information?
That's what he was being. That was what he was being told by his advisors. But I mean, why are they telling him that? Right? Because they want, they want Putin to stroke him. It's just it doesn't make I just don't know. If you're a leader though, like I don't know if you really surrounded yourself with yes men like that, so that everybody will tell you everything you want to hear, because it doesn't really work if you're waging a war.
Hot take here. I think this is a very hot take. I think that
Nuclear hot.
America's yes men. America's yes men are way more moral than Russia's yes men.
Okay, break that down. Break down that bit of geopolitical insight for me there, brother.
How do I want to put this? I think that like America will look at results in a clearer lens than Russia will. If Biden tells somebody to do something, okay, let's go back to Obama. Obama had a website for the insurance marketplace, right?
Healthcare.gov.
Yes. So it failed.
Well, it's still there.
No, it failed when it launched.
Right. The launch wasn't great.
The reason for the failure, I think, fell onto Kathleen Sebelius. That was like her job.
Former governor of Kansas.
Former governor of Kansas.
Later director of the Department for Health and Human Services.
I don't know.
I think that's what it was.
Anywho, this lady screwed up, right?
Well, did she or did someone under her?
That's my point. Yeah. Is in Russia, it would have kept tumbling down to whatever poor SOB couldn't defend themselves and they'd get canned or whatever. Gulag. In this country, she was held responsible for it, even though was it really her fault, or was it the companies that they were working with? Was it like the manager of the site that was working for Sebelius? Yada, yada, yada. It was her job to oversee it, and it didn't work well, so,
I think Russia still has that top-down accountability. I don't know if that's lacking in Russia.
Well, they're people, too, so I've been told. Family Guy would have you believe they're all bears on unicycles.
Like, I think Putin, Putin didn't used to be... The Wagner guy, Prigozhin, kind of became Putin's big guy because he felt like he was getting more results than the other military commanders. Like Putin's normal military commanders were kind of letting him down, so he's putting more and more trust in Prigozhin.
Wasn't what's Prigozhin's group again? Wagner.
Yeah, it's spelled Wagner.
I mean,
Pronounced like the composer, I think.
Wouldn't that be the American equivalent of? It's not Blackstone. That's from Jason Bourne.
Blackstone's also an investment group,
Oh,
but like it's their quote unquote
like the U.S.
mercenaries.
has some kind of like mercenary thing.
I don't know if we do.
We definitely do.
I mean, and it's also like, are they really mercenaries? Because I think when they started, I think the Wagner group started during the war in Syria when Russia got involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like it was sort of a way for Russia to get involved while saying we're not really involved. It's actually this group of mercenaries. So I'm not entirely sure just how independent the mercenaries are from the Russian state. I mean, certainly they're somewhat independent, right? But yeah, I'm pretty sure like even in their inception, like the birth of them was a way for Russia to get involved in Syria, but still act like they weren't getting involved.
Well, they're like involvement in anywhere they've been, like Africa, Middle East. It's like to also exploit economies in foreign government or if economies in foreign countries. Like they do make money for
The Wagner, yeah, no, they seem to make money. Yeah, I'm not here to talk negatively about the Wagner group. They seem to be good at what they do, which is
no.
not
That's
saying-
like not in this conflict.
no, they're the only group that's done any good not good in the absolute sense, but they're the only Russian group that's fought worth a shit.
results.
Yeah, that's the whole reason that he's like sort of getting behind him, and then Russia's whole strategy in Ukraine was to fight for Bakhmut. Bakhmut's a worthless town, but Russia just wanted a win in Ukraine. So they just kept throwing soldiers and soldiers and soldiers, which at that point meant Wagner soldiers. So I sort of get I wonder to what extent Prigozhin is let's just like fuck this, because like all we're doing is we're just being ordered to be butchered, every day.
One of the most interesting thing I haven't been following this at all. Heck, I was in Florida last week on vacation, and I had no idea that we were looking for a sub. Which it seems like
I don't give a shit. Dude, if you want to talk about things I don't care about, let them die.
No, okay. I would just say it like the West can find a submarine in the Atlantic Ocean way faster than Russia can find its so-called missing military leaders. Like it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What's harder to find? A
Yeah.
submarine in the ocean or a missing Russian general or whatever?
I just think it was a slow news cycle.
No. Well, I want to get into that, but here's my thing with Prigozhin. What I've seen, I saw this theory that he's pretty much like a pawn for Putin. So like this attempted coup, was like a way for the blame on the war to go from Putin, to go from Wagner to the military generals. So, he kicks Prigozhin out. And then if there's, I don't know what the election, if there is an election in Russia, like they still hold elections, right?
I think he's up for election next in maybe 2030.
Yeah. Oh, really? 2030?
Putin, yeah, something like that.
Weird. But this is
I mean,
like a
quote-unquote
political,
election.
this is a political stunt to put the blame of the results of the war onto the military instead of...
I've heard people try to say that somehow Prigozhin and Putin are in cahoots, but I don't think anybody... I haven't heard any actual reporting that has backed that up. Like, all the reporting has been Putin discovered this, Wagner had to move earlier than it wanted to, and like now he's living in a windowless room somewhere in Belarus.
Yeah. Oh.
Windowless.
That's a really good literary image right there. A windowless room in Belarus.
If you get asylum from being a coup leader, do you want a windowless room or a window room? Because a windowless room means it's a lot harder to snipe your ass. But a windowless room means you can't see their asses coming.
My thought was it's a lot harder to fall out the window in a windowless room.
That would be the funniest thing if somehow there was a report from the Russian state media that Prigozhin had fallen to his death.
It's like, what's the deal with Russians and open windows? Stay away. Oh, those poor bastards.
Oh, man.
Getting murdered. Kind of like those people in the sub.
I don't. You have to find some way.
The ocean murdered them.
Please, if you're gonna talk about this, find some way to talk about it that is gonna be relevant to people 6 months from now.
Why?
Because this is worthless. This is just like
I don't think that a story could speak to people in a different time better than this story. Let me get my.
some people died.
Yeah. Well, no, rich people died. Can I get some coffee?
Yeah, get some coffee.
And men trying to please their fathers.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Ethan's drinking out of a pumpkin mug right now.
You need any coffee?
I'll take some. Yeah. Your shirt says Yirak Muji. Oh, you forgot the accent on Muzi. There should be a hot check above the Z.
What does that mean?
Muji can. Like, or you can, I think, yeah, Muju, Mujesh, Muje, but I think maybe Muji isn't acceptable.
To explain Jacob's gibberish, I've got a check. I've got a shirt here that my sister made. My sister Heidi made a shirt with our
former
cat on.
guest of the twice guest of the podcast.
You know what's weird is she's been a guest, but I've never been on at the same time she's been on.
She doesn't ever want to come on anymore, but I'd love to have her on again. It might be because the 2 times she was on, we very much talked about abortion and the vaccine.
You know what? Good for you guys though, because that's a heavy. That's all.
Well,
that's extra heavy whipping.
And I'm not sure that it was a conversation I was eager to get into, but I'm not so sure Heidi was. I'm not sure I got consent to the podcast content. I mean, of course, she always could have said no.
It sucks when you don't share the same opinion, which our opinion happens to be right.
Why does that suck?
No, I'm just saying, like, it's never comfortable when you think you're 100% right and somebody you care about is not on the same page.
Oh, dude, I'd absolutely like. I'm fine with it.
I know you are. I know you are.
I'm actually like.
I know.
What does it matter?
I know.
I have no problem when people disagree with me.
I get it. That's why I'd be a terrible leader. The manager you're talking about, like, don't you know who I am? That is me if I get an extra $5 in my bank account. Like, you know what how much I would abuse power when I was in I think I was in Ostrava, going back to Prague.
Where?
Oh, hey, little girl.
What was the name of the place?
Ostrava.
Oh, Ostrava.
Yeah. No, it was Olomouc. Olomouc cheese. That's what I remember. No, I paid like an extra $2 and got like business class cab or whatever in the student. What is that? What is that? Transit?
Student agency.
RegioJet. Yeah. So it's a train service or a transit service. I was on a train, and
they have not only the state-run trains in the Czech Republic. They also have a private company called.
They have
RegioJet.
multiple. They have that Leo, I think.
Yeah. RegioJet. I mean, RegioJet has sort of become the other competitor.
Really?
Yeah.
So, anywho, I paid an extra $2. I got business class. I never thought so much more of myself.
Really?
I was like, F everybody. I'm in the business suite. I'll do whatever I want. I'm that much better than the rest of the people. Huh?
Is there air conditioning running?
Who's there?
What's that sound?
Yeah, that's the air conditioning.
Is there any chance we can turn it off?
Dude, no.
Or turn it up?
Turn it up?
I can hear it in these headphones.
Oh, you suck. Well, if I turn it off, it'll still run till the end of the cycle, I think. But I can do that.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I can hear it. It's noise. I didn't invent microphones, man.
You did invent particular, being so damn particular.
For the first time in a year, I get to have a podcast with a proper mic. Let me have audio quality.
Whatever.
Also, it's so cold in this house.
What do you want me to tell you? Maggie, who is 9 months pregnant, sorry, it's the 4th of July. You're red, white, and dew. You can't have air conditioning.
You just open up the windows at night and it gets cool enough.
No, it doesn't.
I had to douse myself with water yesterday at work. I got about 3 o'clock and I started just pouring water over myself. I thought, I'm really hot.
Dude, I bet it gets hot in that mill.
It's hot. But no, you can't stand like you find disagreement. I mean, I think people find conflict unpleasant, but I don't necessarily find a difference of opinion inherently unpleasant.
We can have different favorite colors. That's fine. We can't disagree on if there's a God or not, or if abortion is moral or any of that. You can't. I can't.
Well, and I think the question, I don't know that the question of is abortion moral versus should abortion be legal are the same question.
Oh, that's probably a good distinction. It's not moral, and it should not be legal. So,
Yeah.
But the way Heidi, I mean, I thought that was a great podcast.
I thought it
between
was
the two.
great too. I thought it was a very good one.
For whoever is listening, I think that was a great one, but that doesn't necessarily mean the room is
Yeah.
not feeling the humidity.
Well, and I don't know. For whatever reason, Heidi has felt like she hasn't wanted to do it again. But and maybe she just sort of like hearing I think your own voice on a recording can be hard. But I thought it's one of those interests. Not like I ever make anybody directly unpleasant on the podcast, because I have had a couple moments where I'm like, I'm gonna bring this out, and then I've ended up just cutting it because it's not even pleasant to listen to. But there's something to the idea, like you don't know how things will translate on when you listen back to them. Like for an audience, like I don't know if you've ever felt this, but sometimes you finish an episode and there's this sense of like that wasn't a very good one, and then you go back and listen to it and you're like, oh, actually, that was good. Like the audience will get something out of it. It's sort of hard to listen with audience ears, maybe, all the time. You know what I'm getting at?
Maybe. No, it's not a maybe. I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I struggle as much with that.
Yeah.
I feel like you have the analytics on it. You could tell what is a more successful podcast or not. The ones that I thought were worse with me in it may not be represented in the numbers, but every time I listen to it, I'm pretty on point with what I was thinking during the podcast.
Yeah, I think the only one, 7, the one we were doing Lent, that's the lowest viewed one we have. And I've listened to that one once. I didn't feel great about that one listening back. But I mean, you can't really, it's sort of like making sausage. Like if you complain about each sausage you make, not like you don't care about, sausage is delicious. You made great sausage. But it's one of these things
You
where
son of a bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I love my Aunt Vicky. You son of a gun. You don't like my sausage?
I said it was good sausage.
I'm going to make a metaphor saying it's like when you get a plate of really bad sausage. But no, the sausage you just served me is fine.
No, not like a plate of bad sausage, but like making sausages. You just sort of like, if you get, and that's maybe the hardest part I've found with the podcast is even people that want to come on, they want to make a special sausage. And it's just like, bro, this is just another sausage. Sausage is beautiful, but it's still sausage.
Speaking of sausage, let's talk about sausages in the ocean.
I really
submarine sausage.
Can you please dig into this whole thing where you do not like people having different opinions than you on important issues?
Oh,
I find this fact because for me, like the fact that I have a different opinion, like I don't like the conflict, I don't like the arguing, the debates, I don't like the being like challenged, and I don't know that I even hate challenge, but just sort of like being challenged for the sake of challenge. But like I don't like viscerally or instinctually have any problem with people having different opinions than me on things.
Yeah.
Even if I think I'm right, I don't really, because I kind of just like, well, you know.
Yeah, but you have like a scale of like, for instance,
I get worked up about a lot of things, but this is not a thing I get worked up about.
I know.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a scale, right? Like,
I guess if you want to say like you believe in the extermination of the Jews, like I would have a problem with that.
like you would have a problem talking to somebody with that. That's not realistic. Let's talk about somebody who doesn't believe that the Holocaust happened. Like you're gonna have a vehement, angry reaction to that person's point of view.
I don't even know that it doesn't even thinking of it doesn't make me angry. Cuz I've come across people. Yeah, I've come across people. I think I even knew somebody that was sort of a Holocaust denier or just sort of a Holocaust minimizer. And it really I thought he was incorrect. You know, it's like sort of like being angry at a math problem, you know? Like this is the wrong answer, but I'm not really like I don't view this guy is just misinformed. He's not the enemy.
No, I things that matter a lot to me. Yeah,
The whole world must believe the same as you.
yes, it does.
Really? Really?
Ye-
I'm not even criticizing you. I'm
I
curious
know, I
because this
know.
is very foreign.
I could see the window behind me when you said really. It's like both of your eyes literally lit up. I could see the reflection in my own glasses. Yeah, dude. I don't know. If you know something to be true, which plenty of people. What's that quote from The Big Short? It's not The Big Short. It's like it isn't what you know that.
To a man with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
No, that's a really good one. It's not what you know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know that just ain't so that gets you in trouble. Right?
Sure. I will concede your point for the sake of your argument.
You don't
Continue.
agree with that?
I don't.
You
know.
don't think people like absolutely know something and they actually are wrong?
I am conceding your point to allow you to continue making your point.
That is so.
I'm not giving you any pushback on that statement.
What
I don't know that it strikes me as obviously true, but like certainly people. I guess maybe people can be they can be misinformed.
Yeah,
Or
I
they
mean,
can
there's a
have-
variety of reasons, whatever they may be.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily always. Maybe the framing. Like sometimes it's not. Yeah, I don't disagree with the existence of people who have convictions that are possibly demonstrably false. But I guess I don't think that like somebody believing that the Earth is flat is like is going to cause ruin to be visited upon their lives. I think the things that cause people's lives to crumble are more passions, are things that become obsessions rather than faulty ideas. Like I think people become very fixated on a goal or on a project, or they just have like even addiction maybe, or they have some sort of like thing they really love or thing they really want. I think these are the things that drive people headlong into destruction, but I'm not quite sure wrong thinking does it. I think the things that really destroy people tend to be more not quite emotional is not the right word, but more sort of visceral things. You know, yeah, that's how I would put it.
Yeah, if I think you're wrong, it's something really big. I think you should change your mind.
Like was what I said too overwhelming? You can't.
I don't know if it was. I got lost there because
Have you-
I don't know if you're trying to talk about people that have a different opinion than you or like what leads the destruction of souls.
Well, no, I think you were making sort of the contention of like what does people in as being incorrect, but I think what does people in is more that sort of thing. It's sort of like pursuit of something, like monomaniacal pursuits.
I don't know if I disagree with you there.
There's a great book, I don't know how you pronounce it, Cousin Bet or Cousin Betty, by Balzac, but he has a character, and this dude is just like obsessed with getting tail. He's married, and like he starts off as this high-ranking official in Napoleon's empire, and like eventually sort of becomes a street urchin. But the whole way, he just cannot help himself from getting laid. So like it almost happens to him to some extent. Like it's almost like, oh, here I was trying to be good, and a pretty woman appeared around the corner, offering herself to me. What could I like? It's comical, but you follow like the ruin of his family as he's just like it's almost like he's a psychological force of nature. It's a very interesting book and a very interesting character. But he sort of just like drags himself and his family under. Like it's like the Greek tragedies, right? Greek tragedy is not. Oh, I mean, people may do something wrong in Greek tragedy, but to some extent, people's downfall in Greek tragedy is predetermined by who they are. Like in Greek tragedy, the fault isn't like somebody has the wrong idea or didn't pray to the Virgin Mary. Maybe it is, but sort of like the fault that they commit is more rooted in who they are as a human being. Like their downfall has been waiting for them their entire lives, which I think is maybe like it's almost maybe truer to life. Like it's almost something impersonal, you know, something just sort of that's like real tragedy. That's real tragic downfall, and maybe that's a great segue into the submarine.
Maybe. You know what I think the whole argument bullshit was about is I'm going to lead into this shit. One way or another. I'm not going to let Ethan start.
No, that wasn't. I just didn't have anything more else to say, so I thought, well, let's move on. But
No, Jacob, I mean, to your point before the submarine here, if you're talking to somebody of a different culture, there's somebody that you don't know, it is fantastic to go into that conversation with, we are going to disagree, and I'm okay with that. And I think I have that feeling for newer people in my life, where I really get angry when I disagree with people is when I think I know them, or if it's just, a long history. So, I mean, everybody experiences that. You know your family, then you move away from your family. You know your friends from high school, then you move away from your friends in high school, which, by the way, none of them wanted to come this weekend to help me build the shed. Then you know your friends from college, and you move away from them, which they also didn't show up this weekend to help build my shed. I just, there's levels. I think there's levels, and there's levels about stuff you care about. But more importantly, there's levels under the surface of the ocean. Why does this matter to us? Because it's crazy. It is a crazy story.
that a metal box underwater
Did what physics demanded of it.
Yeah, nature abhors a vacuum.
The what quote is that?
It's from some,
Something.
It's one of those things like nothing comes from nothing. I'm sure someone was the first one to say it, but
I could see Aquinas saying that just as much as like Copernicus.
nothing comes from nothing.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
Oh, I vaguely want to say it's Newton, but I don't know if it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good quote. Lots of good quotes this morning. Well, I think it's crazy because it's mainly rich people that did it.
So if it was poor people, it wouldn't be sad.
No, I saw a video yesterday from my coworker where they took. I'm not going to mention any names here, but there was a guy that they knew who may or may not have been on meth that makes 4th of July fireworks that are not up to code. They took this pretty much stick of dynamite, put it under a wheelbarrow, and then they lit it. And the wheelbarrow went probably 40 or 50 feet up in the air. That's a lot of force. It wasn't to the side. I mean, it defied gravity, went straight up like an Elon Musk rocket. Came right down. So if somebody did that and the wheelbarrow went off to the side and really hurt somebody, it's 4th of July. A lot of people get hurt on Tuesday doing really stupid things, right? It's gonna happen. The ER, I feel bad for everybody that works in an ER that night. But, it's, they're, rednecks, you would never think that, like, it's never going to hit the news as big of a story as if billionaires
I'm
did
sorry.
it.
I feel like if man died by flying
Wheelbarrow would be
There's a guy that got. I loved the article headline last weekend. Man ingested by Southwest Airlines engine.
Really?
Like that engine was just hungry.
No,
Yum,
no.
yum, 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 yum.
That's a real thing.
It was a real thing. And so, I think there was such an arc for me because it was the headline. I don't even know if it was Southwest. It might have been. I think it was Delta. But man, ingested. That's a hungry engine.
All right, we're making our way out of the tarmac. We're going to make our way out of the sloop. No, we're going to turn down the engine real quick. Oh.
Bad engine. Bad.
Oh.
People are friends, not food.
Oh, shit.
Anyway, I had this whole arc with it because it's like man ingested by airplane engine in freak accident. I spent a whole day being like, well, that's not something to worry about. I don't have to worry about being ingested by an engine. I'm not going to work on a tarmac. And then like 2 days later, officials rule ingestion of man suicide, which is like gives me more questions than it does answers because how did he get up to the? Did he like grab a ladder, bring it over to the engine, climb up the ladder, and everybody was just like, "Well, yeah, that's normal. This man is like just that's like how in the hell?" Because you can't jump. It's not like touching a basketball goal.
Yeah, you can. So like,
But how's it gonna suck him in? You think you can jump and stick your hand up there, and then it's like
so it
yum,
wouldn't,
yum, yum, yum.
it wouldn't have been like when the plane is at dock or whatever, but when the plane is moving away from the terminal, it's like when it starts moving because of its own engines instead of a machine pushing or pulling it. Like there's more than enough suction where a guy could run in front of it, jump, and get sucked in.
I mean, he got ingested.
Hell of a headline.
Hell of a headline.
Hell of a headline.
Hell of a headline. you have to feel like Delta must be a part owner of NBC News because like they didn't want to say, man brutally decapitated and gurgled by an effing airline engine. They said, man ingested.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, you were talking about the submarine.
Oh yeah. Well, no, it's
Because it's rich people. They
yeah,
care
it's
more.
that's the reason it's a news story. It's because it's rich people. Nobody cares about the what was Ralphie May's bit about the people being
about
lost.
brown people.
Yeah, being lost at sea.
Oh yeah.
Like nobody would give a shit unless it was like rich white people.
I wonder how
stuck-
many like migrants. You know
Oh,
how many boatloads of migrants die on a daily basis.
Right.
I don't just. Yeah.
Well, it's like even on BET, they'd be like, "Yeah, a boatload of black people got lost in the ocean." Back to sports with you.
Yeah, he's talking in the persona of Ralphie May.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. So that's the reason it's a news story. Why is it interesting to divulge? Is because
how I'm supposed to breathe with no air.
oh, you think they had music down there?
Well, they ran out of air.
Yeah, but do you think they had like a
You think they just like had a playlist of drowning songs?
it's like, well, I mean, what else
Drowning
what else do you do when you're like,
do you just laugh about it? You're just like, yeah, we're all gonna.
no, not the fact that they were dying, but they're like going to Titanic. Like, don't you think that you'd play Celine Dion's I Will Go On?
If you were diving for the Titanic, what would be on your Titanic diving?
It'd be
playlist?
Celine Dion for sure.
But you wouldn't like have shipping up to Boston or something.
Oh, I think that's a really good one.
Are you gonna have them both on the same playlist though?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have that Titanic song, Celine Dion song, Life Will Go On, or whatever it is. Shipping Up to Boston's really good.
Boom boom.
Oh man, we need to come up with a playlist after this podcast.
I was listening. I'm not gonna lose the thread, but I was in Walmart buying some Roundup a couple weeks ago, and they had Amarillo Sky by Jason Aldean, and I had never realized what a truly ridiculous song it was until I heard it as an adult in the aisles of a Walmart. He just takes the tractor another round. Like it's talk. I just had this image of like
Have you ever been to Amarillo?
Texas.
Yeah.
No.
There are no fields. It's all dead grass. If there is grass.
And pulls the plow across the ground and sends up another prayer. Yeah, anyway, so I had just had this image of like a farmer's conception of himself, of like sort of like this slow-mo, like multi-angle shot of the very slow process of a fucking combine turning around or a tractor turning around, but soundtracked to like Dropkick Murphys. I'm going up to Boston, like doon doon, and the tractor's just slowly turning doon doon, doon 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 doon, and the dude is just like, and you cut to the driver and he's just got his hands like turned to the left and he's just clenching the wheel. Da 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 da. And like I just cracked up. I was just like, and you know we have an uncle. I have an uncle. An older uncle, an uncle who had a heart issue, but I sort of feel like that's the way he sees his farming, you know, and it really made me, Francis.
Oh.
I really had to laugh at thinking like, I'm sure like Francis's self-perception of his farming is somehow soundtracked to Dropkick Murphys.
Dude, I don't know if he would get pumped up to that. I don't honestly know if he approves of music.
No, he likes music. But
You know that for a fact?
no. But you know what I mean? Just like that sort of like Amarillo Sky is like farmers are not like
Mindless nonsense.
they're not like dudes on the front lines of the Ukraine war. Like they're turning a tractor around and going the opposite way that they
But it's
came
their
from.
livelihood.
That's fine, but that doesn't make them goddamn heroes.
Easy.
Like
Easy on the
on the
profanity,
Lord's on the
Lord's name.
But you know what I mean? Like I turn a car. I make a 90-degree turn with a car. It doesn't make me a societal wonder.
I'm going into town. Yeah. I'm walking in the office. Whoa. I'm getting a pot of coffee. Oh, no. Is it hot? No, it's not. So I'll put it in the microwave.
Like where's my like Electric Dylan Sky song for when I'm going to the grocery store?
Yeah.
He just pushes the cart down another aisle.
Another aisle.
Takes a bag off the shelves and
Will he-
sends up another prayer.
Dylan's points, y'all.
He says, I always save twice. I always get the sale. Please don't let me go to hell. Anyway, yeah, I just like, thank you, Jason Aldean. Definitely not just jerking off the farmers.
Stop it.
Dun, man, just dun.
Where's my government subsidy?
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, I'm tired of these welfare programs. By the way, I get paid several $1,000s a year just for owning land. Yeah, we gotta be the only country in the world that pays people money because they own land. It's like, hey, do you own land? Would you like more money?
Oh, Jacob. This is one of those things where it's a hot topic because we pretty much know nobody but farmers. This is Kansas. Like, we definitely know a lot of farmers.
I know a lot of farmers who like to complain about China and people in the city who
Or,
say,
or welfare programs.
Right.
Especially welfare programs.
well, they seem to have very little trouble.
What? Oh, I didn't even realize I was getting a subsidy on this grain.
I deserve it because I'm white.
There's, to the people that are listening,
Not that only white people.
there's definitely some pretty, well, actually to just you, Jacob. Nobody listens to this podcast. I don't know what I'm saying. Or do people listen to it? Are we almost at a milestone?
We're close to 3K views.
Shit, dude, that's a lot of wasted hours.
Name of an Arcade Fire song.
There's definitely some good economic reasons why they think that people should still be getting subsidies on grains. Oh yeah,
Like
you would lose. Nobody would be out in Western Kansas if you didn't do it.
Well, I think with crop insurance, it serves the same purpose. Like I don't know that you need both subsidies and crop insurance.
You can't pay for crop insurance if you don't have subsidies. I don't think. If you get a bad year, like how are you going to afford crop insurance for the next year?
With the money you got from crop insurance.
Then you don't have an operation if you're just putting money from insurance back into insurance.
Like I'm pretty sure crop insurance.
Plus, I would wager that you'd have a major food issue when people refuse to pay $20 for a loaf of bread. You can't do it. That's the reason. Like,
Wait, what? How did you get the $20 loaf of bread?
because grain won't be cheap to produce anymore.
Why?
Because
If we
nobody
don't give out
produce
farm
because they
subsidies?
don't get enough money to do it. If they don't get that, if farmers in Western Kansas don't get that subsidy, you would argue the only reason they get subsidies, and this isn't just Western Kansas, that's just where I grew up. They're going to put money, like they're going to try to put it in an operation where they can succeed, get money for it, and you would have a lot less grain. You'd have way less supply driving up demand.
And plus, we're not the only grain producer. No, I think, I would actually argue against that because I think it's, sort of like supply and demand and price. It's, okay, let's say 10% of farmers would quit in Western Kansas, okay?
Let's just say Kansas. I feel like I'm singling out some Western Kansas farmers.
Okay, let's say 10% of Kansas farmers quit farming if subsidies disappear. The price of grain goes up by 10 or more percent. People see the price increase in price in grain, people decide to farm more because of the rise in price. Like price is not. Yeah, and it's one of these weird things where people treat price, like when people talk about economic issues, they treat price as this very stable thing. Like, well, people are just going to do less work,
Right.
But price, like an increased prices create supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually think, you might even have, like, let's say, Ukraine, right? Ukraine produces a lot of grain. You could arguably produce more grain in a country like Ukraine. So if prices go up,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden Ukraine or Indian grain production increase. And then, like, we're back to the same supply of grain globally.
It is a global, like, grain is very global, yes, but, like, if
I don't think subsidies are, like, holding together.
your immediate economies would be overturned.
Because you're not having local bakers use locally sourced grains. To
No,
produce the
but that's where
bread they
all the
eat.
money comes from. You don't have a town if you don't have farmers in Salina or wherever. Actually, Salina you would because it's pretty heavy manufacturing. Interestingly enough, but like, yeah, a lot of normal Kansas towns, like a bank would not exist had it not be for farmers. A restaurant wouldn't exist. Like that's.
Well, and I don't think if you got rid of subsidies, you'd lose all farmers. But okay, so let's say you lose 10.
I mean, you would. I mean, I see what you're saying. It's not like really complex economics.
I mean, your argument was that like the price of bread's going to shoot up to 20, which is just not. What would happen.
It would.
Absolutely not.
If you didn't have people making grain, the price of
grain
products would
if
skyrocket.
you eliminated people making grain, but I think if you got rid of farm subsidies, it would not cause the price of bread to skyrocket.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But like, the main
Moving-
thing I was saying is like you have some people making strong economic cases why it should be subsidized.
I think the other thing and in terms of like making a consistent profit, I think that grain insurance, and I think even if you had to restructure how crop insurance works, I think that crop insurance like does and would function the same way subsidies do, which is sort of make up the difference for a poor year. But I think the only argument you can make is, let's say you get rid of subsidies, you lose 10% of farmers. That would be hard on rural communities. I guess I could see that. But also, like, rural communities don't even have an economy because people don't spend locally. They go to the nearest town with a Walmart and spend there.
Yeah.
So it really wouldn't make a difference because it's not like local towns have a self-subsisting economy already anyway.
I agree.
I agree. It's like if I'm working as a farmer or if I'm working at the mill, I'm still spending all my money in Harrington. Yeah.
Right. No, I agree with that.
But I can maybe that point I could see, but it would have to be a town where like, yeah, I don't know. People would have to move. People. If they wanted. Anyway, we need to talk about the submarine.
I want to say one more thing if you're okay with this. You talk about the tractor guy, the guy running.
Just takes the tractor. Another round.
I was harvesting wheat in a really nice air-conditioned combine, and I listened to Pink's. That's when Pink's "Glitter in the Air" song came out. Do you know that song?
No.
Oh, it's super. Oh, hi, little girl. It's super like traumatic, super emotional. Anyway, not a country song. That's where I fell in love with that song and I loved listening to it on a combine. When I cut wheat, I don't think Amarillo Sky. I think Pink's "Glitter in the Air." Okay.
To be fair, the only song I really remember Francis really loving. Well, him and Mary did the Johnny Cash June Carter thing for a while. Did you ever see that?
I remember them dressing up like that.
They would do it and they would lip sync the songs. So they must like Johnny and June. But also I remember him really loving
International Harvester.
Is there anything bad in this?
what's that?
Is there anything bad in this coffee cut?
Coffee.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I remember Francis really loving International Harvester.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Interesting.
Well,
Oh,
how
did you
did
know
you-
Africa loves like American country music?
Okay.
Because there's no other music genre in the world that explains them harvesting crops.
I can believe it.
You seem like a little bit over countrified right now.
Me?
Yeah.
Like I've gotten too much country?
Like you're tired of talking about country music.
I haven't even hardly been listening to any, and it's not. I think the thing that The only thing I've been thinking musically recently is because I got a buddy, not a buddy. Well, I guess you can call him a buddy. Somebody I work with. He likes metal, and it's sort of this.
Heavy metal or
But I mean, it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter to me, but it matters to people that like metal.
However you want to, he can define his metal however he likes. He can change the metal name on his birth certificate, but it's sort of like I hate the guitar sounds. I didn't really realize it till recently why it had been bothering me so much, but it's like they just layer these guitars and guitars and guitars and guitars on top of each other, so it creates this sort of like tuneless mush. Like if you asked me to like sing what note it is, I would like maybe be able to, but it would be like hard. It could be a few different ones, or it would be the same note for like a minute or two, you know? And so there's not, and I've been listening to country music, and like with these big guitared choruses they have, it's that same sort of just like noiseless crush of electric guitar. And I just find it really, I don't like it. I just don't like it. And I just like, it just doesn't sound good. It just sounds bad. That sort of it's chorus, you know, like
As Screw Tape would put it, the noise, the sounds in hell are just noise, and I kind of think of metal that way.
yeah. And I think there is good metal, but
There probably is, yeah.
there is. But it's just one of these things of like, and he's like, oh, I need relentlessly intense music. I'm like, but why? Why do you want the feeling of being slapped across the face over and over and over for hours on end?
This coworker of yours, does he drink Monster Energy or energy?
He drinks energy drinks.
Really?
Yeah.
What, Maggie? Do you think that I think everybody who listens to metal also drinks energy drinks? That's what I think too.
I mean, I used to drink it.
I don't think a man who drinks Monster at 6 a.m. could. The only thing he could listen to is the noise that is metal music.
And see, it's not even for me. It's not even the screaming. But this is sort of what I realized because I have the same problem with Linkin Park. It's the tunelessness. Like there's no calling at my skate. Like there's no actual.
Crazy.
Melody doesn't change. It pretty much just stays on the same.
Yeah, there's no tune. There's no actual tune. And there's no, the chords aren't changing behind it. It's just ma mama 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 ma ma. You know, it's just, so that's my problem.
Yes.
Some metal is like based on classical music, which I think is interesting. I still don't like listening to it, but I do think that's interesting.
Like Metallica is weirdly, we knew a guy at Toast Tua's camp. He listened to two things, classical music and Metallica. Yeah, but like he would really defend like, no, Metallica is basically classical music. Yeah. But like old school Metallica, like Master of Puppets, that stuff.
I don't know. I was surprised recently to learn that my father liked Metallica.
Yeah.
Just mainly only saw him as a Beach Boys kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's worse things.
Yeah.
like dying in a submarine.
Yeah.
So you wanted to talk about the submarine. They're old people and they died.
So I was on vacation. I didn't really know about it. And then when I got back that it was happening and I got told the details, I couldn't imagine a worse hell except maybe getting trapped in a cave.
You think? Because they just ran out of air. It must have been nice.
I'm telling you what I'm thinking. Like, this is before I realize what's happening.
And then imagine if you're trying to get air. Imagine if they put too much Beach Boys on that playlist.
This is what I'm imagining.
As you're laying on the ground,
That's how we got to
gasping for air.
Yeah.
Get around,
They were
get
stuck
around.
down there for like 4 days with 3 days worth of air, and they couldn't move. They had to sit crisscross applesauce. They had to go to the bathroom there. They're right next to each other, in the pitch black. That's what I was thinking.
I think they had lights, didn't they?
They probably did. They wouldn't go down there in the pitch black.
But if you had 3 days left to live, what would you do?
It'd be a horrible way to die.
Do you kill people so you have more? Because I mean, you think maybe they should have drawn straws? Because wasn't it like 4 days for the amount of people? If you had fewer people, wouldn't you have more oxygen?
If with less people,
Yeah.
except for the microbial growth, that really put a damper on your oxygen.
Yeah.
They would start to rot in 3 days. So
Throw them outside the submarine.
You can't do. Okay, here's my big takeaway. The story is a man tried to please his father and he ends up getting crushed to death in something he was deathly afraid of. The ultimate act of courage for somebody else to be happy, and you get punished for it.
You feel like that's
Albeit it's a stupid idea, but that's the tragedy.
you feel like that's
Talk
the
about
drama
tragedy.
of our lives.
No, not
No,
at all.
not
No.
of yours.
No.
You don't relate to it.
No. I've got to the point where I'm gonna let my dad down, and he's still gonna love me.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like? See, I don't know. Does the whole idea that you're letting him
You
down?
you don't seek approval. I would seek my father's approval, but I'm gonna let him down.
Oh, I don't know that I don't seek. I don't want approval, but I think like
But you
you're
would not go for it up to a point. Like if it's seeking approval, like let's say from your father, or maybe not. Let's not maybe bring our dads into this. I'll bring my dad into it. Like I feel like if my dad wanted me to do something, I would definitely try to do it and let him down. Versus, I don't know if you would be like, I don't need your approval to do this. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that somehow you feel like I guess, and I'm happy to respond, but I'm also the fact that you are framing it in terms of letting him down, right? Is
Yeah.
like, why must your attempt at a thing necessarily be letting him down? Like, why? Even if let's say your dad wanted you to build a skyscraper, and
Okay. Yeah.
you gave building a skyscraper your best attempt.
Or shed. Yeah.
Right. One could conceivably see a father not being let down merely by the act of you're giving it your best shot.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
to some extent, I feel like if someone who is sort of pushing something on you is acting let down no matter what you do,
Yeah.
that says a lot more about them than it does about you.
Yeah.
Almost like they want to not approve of you, like they want to withhold the approval.
From me looking outside to another situation, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So I guess that for me it's a sort of, because it's one of these weird things where I feel like, I need to talk about me now. I feel like I've in my life sort of gotten criticized for, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, and maybe I'll try to learn to do this, that, or the other thing, or I'll try to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll still get criticized, not even for the failure. Like I think there was actually, I was backing up a trailer, and my dad was giving me shit about backing up the trailer. I backed it up and into the shed in like 20 seconds. Like it was about as not that I always do that.
It went out well.
But no, I did it. I backed up the trailer just about as flawlessly as a human can back up a trailer.
Okay, hold on.
And I still got shit for it though.
Right.
To some extent, like I'm not getting shit because I actually suck at backing up a trailer. I'm getting shit like it's coming from a different place than like this child of mine deserves ridicule because they don't know how to back up a trailer or because they're not enough of a man. It's almost like I want to give. So I think it originates from him. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying is I don't think you have to take it personally. I don't think it's necessarily that you're letting your dad down.
Oh.
More that your dad is like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to word that differently because I'm like, I want to understand that he is getting let down, but maybe that it isn't. I have a certain level where I'm going to be sympathetic to that, and a certain level where I'm like, nah, you're crazy. I know I let you down, but I'm still not. Like,
But
I'm
I
going
don't
to do
know
it this
why
way.
you doing your project is at all letting your father down. Even like I just don't understand this framing. Like
you
it's
talking about
your
the shed?
it's your project. Why would it have anything to do with your father?
Oh, because my dad wants what's best for me.
And so that
and I'm not.
that means a perfectly constructed shed.
No. How do I want to say this? Plus, I don't know if he actually.
Also, I think your shed's coming along just fine.
No, you don't.
I do.
The last time you were there, you're like, man, I thought you'd be way farther ahead than now.
Well, just as much as you've talked about it, but
Yeah. No, I don't know if my dad's actually let down. He's just not a fan. So I don't know if like he would not like whatever the opposite.
he disapproves.
um
But also,
yeah,
like
he'd be like that wasn't the smart choice.
I think sometimes disapproval. If we're talking, we started off this podcast talking about managers going into. I'm going to have to cut that part.
Yes, yes, I know. The only part you can bleep out is, but now I know.
I have to insert a marker there.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I have to bleep out 2 things. But anyway,
You'll have to bleep when I say. So just so you know,
why?
because I don't want me on radio saying that word, even though people totally know what I'm saying. We started it off.
If I can find it. No, I think that like we were talking about people going out to restaurants and being so insecure themselves, like the only way they can have value in themselves is like to rest on their fact that they're a manager at X, Y, or Z company. And like they're so insecure that they feel the need to shout at a waiter who's just trying to do his or her job.
Yeah.
Like and just make enough to like have their lives. I think that like I don't think it has anything to do with you. I think in some sense the males in our family feel threatened when one of us does something exceptional or different. And so they feel a need to denigrate it, not from and maybe this is too cynical, but not from a point. It might be too cynical. Maybe it's not true, but I think that it does happen, at least in part. They denigrate it not from us, not from like desiring our well-being or trying to protect us from a bad situation, but from like almost feeling threatened by what we're undertaking. You know, I think that one of the reasons you get so much shit about your shed is because people feel threatened that you're willing to try to build a shed on your own. Like it threatens their own sense of masculinity.
Maybe. I don't know. This is getting a lot more personal as a.
You look uncomfortable.
Yeah, because like I don't really.
I'm not trying to shit talk our family or our dads either. I'm just saying
we do that naturally.
Well, I'm just trying to say like you obviously feel bad about the shed, and I'm just trying to say I don't think you have to feel so bad because I think that place that criticism is coming from or those comments are coming from, it's not like oh you are a lost child who needs to be, you know, sort of like disciplined.
Corrected.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's more coming from I think that's coming from a place that has nothing to do with you.
Well, I don't know if my dad is actually like ashamed of that. I think my dad would probably say he's been very few things he's been ashamed about me, like that I've done in my life. I wouldn't say the shed is one of them. It is one of those points of contention where
But the fact that he's criticizing, you know, the fact that he just sort of brings it up, I think it speaks to sort of it threatens him.
maybe.
We have a family that people who are. I feel like competition is the best framework to understand it, in that like we exist in a framework of 2 things, like good versus evil and competition, and sort of like we understand everything as a moral conflict, and like we are constantly competing with every other member of our family, and those same sort of dynamics of resentment or pushback. I think a lot of times can be explained by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say I'm immune from it. Like, I do that sort of thing, too.
No, yeah.
If anything, I think I've identified it because I'm trying to sort of identify it in myself and maybe quit doing it so much. Because I don't think it's the best thing for me in my life.
Which is admirable. I don't know if my... Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's kind of... It sucks when you're doing something that you know is a little outside... This is definitely outside my realm of expertise. So... I know that I should expect criticism. It's just hard to take on.
Well, but, are you getting criticized by a master? Because I feel like if a master builder came out there, they would offer you nothing but advice. They wouldn't criticize you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure the criticism has value. I don't think it's coming from a place of, like, this
critique,
is what...
as much as, like...
Sort of threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably right there.
And so just maybe don't have to take it quite so personally.
It's
hard.
Reflect on what my sister said earlier this week. I'm too damn sensitive.
Well, so am I. That's fine. It's not. I don't think being sensitive is a bad thing.
It probably is if you allow it to be an obstacle in your life. It's just like everything. You could be too sensitive, I think.
Oh, I mean, you certainly could be too sensitive, but it's one of those. I mean, it's at some point, it's like this is maybe the other thing I'm getting at that I've sort of I think we have this tendency of understanding everything in terms of morality. Like the fact that we're discussing sensitivity as though like bad or good, you know? It's like an attribute of somebody. Yes, certainly it can be it can be detrimental if in excess, but I don't think you have to like rate the moral value of the Constitution.
Yeah, that's where I think I would get at with the shed, making that an example again. It could be viewed as simply a financial mistake, or you could take that and run with it and say, well, a financial mistake is a immoral thing to do when you need to take care of your family.
Right.
Yeah.
And then sort of like everything has to be. We can never just say, "Oh, this is how Ethan wanted to spend his money. It's his hobby." It's got to be like it's got to have a moral quality to it.
Yeah.
Which I think is sort of which is a shame.
Do you need any more coffee?
I would take some. Do you have any cream to put in it?
I'll check real quick.
Yeah. And I think just while you're getting the coffee, because I think to answer your question, I don't think I do. I think I've lived a mix. I think I've done some things to try to win approval. Like I've tried to fish more, learn like fish on my own. I've tried to I've worked at this mill. You know, I worked at a farm one summer. Right. So sort of done things that I thought might beef up my credentials, just in terms of masculine pursuits. I took ag structures one semester in high school, which ended up being a total waste.
That's exactly what I needed.
Yeah, well, no, and the whole reason I took the class was because I wanted to learn how to build structures. Like, I would love to, oh my gosh, a year class in building houses. But all it was like a bunch of people in metal shop building things for farmers and then them, quote unquote, donating to the FFA.
Yeah.
So it was like a complete waste. And so I ended up, like, I didn't want to do that. And so I ended up being made to build a stick figure of a house. Like, it was really dumb, but I was really one to. But anyway, I guess I don't feel like I've been impervious to this, but I've also, I guess, and I think maybe to like the detriment of my life, I've tried to balance, like, somehow fighting back against that disapproval that, like, oh, you're not good enough at these things, while at the same time following my own pursuits. And I think at some point I'm just trying to say, you know what, I don't even think it's that I'm incompetent or incapable in this whole department of life. I think it's just that there's a sort of motivated reasoning. Because it's almost like the better I do at things, the more criticism I get. Like, the better my life is, the more people try to poke holes in it. And so I think I'm just starting to maybe get to a point where it's like, you know what, it's just not about me. It's not about me, and it's not a competition. And I can live with people feeling a certain way about me. And it's just like, it's not helping my life to sort of try to justify this corner of myself. Like, I got to be okay with myself in this department, even if other people ostensibly aren't, is where I've landed. And I don't know if that, hopefully that makes sense to a listener, but like, and I'm not trying to talk poop on family. I'm just saying, like, for one reason or another, we have a very competitive family. And I think that a lot of times the dynamics of competition come into play even when they shouldn't apply. And I think a lot of times we sort of hide the dynamics of competition behind moral judgments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that makes sense to you?
Oh yeah. I think we probably preach a lot on this. I definitely agree with you on that statement. And
I think, if anything, it's made me feel less resentful toward members of my family, I'd say, kind of coming to this, because I can sort of, instead of just being angry at, like, you're angry at something you don't understand, but I think when you can kind of, like, break it down, then it gives you some space to have some pity. And maybe not just pity, but also just sort of understanding.
Sympathy for the devil.
No milk.
Would you like this, little girl?
She's smiling. Yeah, well, not even the devil. Like, I don't think my family's the devil.
No,
I think
you don't. But like, no, I was just saying. Because when I tried to, it's always sympathy for the devil, because the devil's always wrong, and the person you don't have sympathy for is the person you think that doesn't deserve any, which is the devil. When you should.
Sure,
have a little bit of sympathy.
Whatever, sure.
But not the actual devil.
Yeah, and the person I was dating, I mean, I don't know that she actually practiced what she preached, but she was very big on sort of understanding things as products of situations or circumstances or of personalities, and not always, like, making things about morality.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't always that somebody had done. I feel like we've existed in a framework where if something happens, it's because somebody has acted bad, and not just like two people with different values or two people in a tough, like it's like I don't think everything has to have a moral be understood. Certainly I'm not arguing against the existence of morality, but I don't think everything should
Comes
be
down to-
understood.
yeah.
Like, I don't even think it's a good frame. Like for some things, it sort of gets you off the track.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be anything moral about some of the decisions you make in your life. They're just completely practical or non-practical.
Or just there's something you wanted to do. Like,
Yeah.
you're allowed to do things you want to do. Yeah.
Even if it's not practical. Even if it
Well,
doesn't.
I think especially if it's not practical,
Hey, get away from the mic, little girl. Sorry. You can do this when you have your own podcast someday. Speaking of which, dude, we're going to have 2 of these little monsters here in a month. Is that crazy?
Means you're an adult. You're turning 30. 2.
Is that funny, little girl?
I got jokes. He's got jokes.
Yeah, so when did we turn into adults, you think?
When did me? 27.
Really?
I feel like I really, really sort of got into adulthood around 27.
Oh.
I mean, not that like
What was the marking point? Do you have a marking point, or is it just like one day you're like, I've done X, Y, and Z, I'm an adult now?
Oh, for me, I'd say, like, after I had the panic attacks, and then I started sort of doing the music thing after work just for fun. Like, not just for fun, but something I wanted to do. And I'd say that it's one of these things of, like, sort of being grown up enough to say, you know what, like, I want to do this, and I'm going to do it because I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, you're really not an adult. Like, even some people I know when I was at Columbia, like, it's weird to look back. So much of Columbia, so much of those, like, quote-unquote high achievers are people, like, desperately seeking parental approval and validation. Really, really hard. And they sort of spend their whole lives, I think, even, like, going to grad school, getting a high-paying job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that you're not really an adult. Because you can do things that your parents would be dissatisfied with, but I think there's a different step to, like, I'm going to do this because I want to do it, like, regardless of how people might feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, at least for me, that's adulthood. Like, I don't know. For me, for whatever reason, I felt like for me in terms of just like sort of being my own person, that's when I feel like, I don't know if it's that experience or that choice, but just sort of around that time of just like this mental shift of, no, it's my life. It's my life, and I'm going to do what I want with it, and it's sort of like my castle to build, you know? Like, I think in a sense you can still be living at home, even if you're not living at home. Like, I think some people maybe even live at home their whole lives.
Yeah. Yeah. The Ivy League world, feel like, so that's where you're kind of pulling some of that from, right?
Yeah, I think looking back, I see a lot. I trying to understand what drove those kids to do what they did. Like, it's really just this sort
Were
of
they
withheld-
individuals, or were they like just seeking approval for
Well,
somebody
yeah,
else?
no, they were very much like it's not even a borderline case, and not even seeking approval from other people, but like parents withholding approval of them until they had sort of become wealthy and accomplished and things that their parents could brag about to other parents.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, I don't think you're really an adult, not until you break free of that, but until you sort of start having a framework for your life. Because I think that's what having a wife or having a kid does to you. And maybe you can agree or disagree, but it sort of forces people to move out of that framework of their life. Like, your life becomes not about what the people who raised you or the people you grew up around might think, but what the people who depend on you think.
Yeah.
And so it becomes more your own life.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have to have kids or a wife to have that, but I think that it's sort of that shift between, like, you can talk. Oh, okay. sort of like quitting defining your life relative to the people you grew up around, and more about defining your life relative to yourself
The
and relative to the people who depend on you.
yeah.
I don't know if you disagree or agree, but that's maybe how I see it.
Yeah. I think I quasi agree, mainly because like last week we had a young adults. Actually, it was last Wednesday, so it's still in the same week. There was a young Catholic get together for the summer, or like just a barbecue, and I went, and I was like, I am obviously not supposed to be here. I had fun. I feel like other people enjoyed me. Make a stupid, obnoxious statements, So, like, there was a girl there that said, "Oh yeah, I went to Benedictine." I was like, "Oh great! I knew that you and I were better than the rest of everybody here." And, I was like, I thought that was sure as shit funny, but I don't think any of the young people thought it was actually funny. And they were like 23. I'm 31. And I was thinking, I am officially like I'm an adult. I should not be here. And like just because my sister, this would be fun to talk with her about. She's kind of been the age police in the Wichita diocese because they're having people come to their young adult groups that are in their 40s, I think, trying to hang out with 25-year-olds, and it's like not even a religious point of view. It's like young people don't want to be hanging out with 40-something-year-olds. Like,
Well, it's because they're looking for a spouse is why they're there.
You think? Because like one of them was like, no, I just really enjoy being with young people. Like she was, I shouldn't say she. There was a person I think I was made aware of that like wanted to be there because her younger siblings or younger friends were there, and she didn't want to feel cut off and wanted to hang out. She's just friends with people 10 years younger, but she was above the cutoff, and they're enforcing it now. And it sucks for her, but like, yeah, I think it's legitimate.
No, I think it's legitimate.
But the thing wasn't age
If you have
with me.
if you have a funny hats only party and someone doesn't come in with a funny hat,
you beat them to death
with baseball bats.
See, that was where our humor was in those freaking videos, and then TikTok killed it. Anywho.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with keeping someone. No, so if you're asking,
but it wasn't the age thing for me. It was the fact that I was married with a kid. I was like, I just shouldn't be here. It seems better for bachelors to be in this group, even if they're my age, than a guy with a wife and kids.
But I think also for me, like, I don't want to be around a bunch of insecure 20-somethings who are looking for a party.
That sounds horrible.
It sounds like it doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it's not even they sound like bad people, but it's just sort of like, I don't know why I'm... Like, I remember I was out in Spain. Spain? Was it Spain? No, it was Greece. It was the summer of 2021, and I was hanging out with these... They weren't that much younger than me, but they were Spaniards. That's why I said Spain. And we sort of went to this, quote-unquote, not really party district, but just sort of like people hanging out in this square, young people hanging out. And I had a beer... I was sitting there and I was just chilling. I was just people watching. And this dude is like, "What are you doing, dude? Why aren't you more worked up? Come on." They're like, "Dude, I'm just sitting here."
Which is definitely, I'm just going to interject, that was 23-year-old Jacob.
I smoked a packet of cigarettes. You need to get excited, random 30-year-old man.
That's you, but go ahead. It actually might have been you that teleported to this time. But go ahead.
I'll concede the point. But yeah, he just like honestly just kept harassing me for like half an hour, and
what?
And I was just like, okay, I'm just leaving.
That dude is bored. He talked to you that long?
No, he was just flitting around everywhere. I mean, who knows if he had done some coke or something. But
right.
It was one of these things of like, I just want to sit here and like chill. Like I'm happy to chat. I'm happy to like stay up all night, but I don't feel the need to like run in circles. I don't feel the need to like run in place.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have so much energy. You just have to motion.
I'm gonna have so much energy to do something.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
You want to know one of the worst things about my flight that was supposed to be 2 hours and went on for 8 hours last week? Thank you, Spirit Airlines.
Oh well, you flew. Well, no, that's.
Oh, I get what I deserve.
Yeah.
You were sympathetic too. You're like, Oh, you were going to Florida during the hurricane season with Spirit Airlines. No, F you. I'm glad that happened to you.
If you fly Spirit, you should just assume 10 hours.
Oh, there's so many people in wheelchairs and
well,
so
you're
many.
lucky your flight didn't get canceled.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I mean, Spirit they don't just even postpone; they cancel them all the time.
Dude, I think that's what's wrong with them is that they don't cancel. They're like, instead of making you relax for 10 hours, you're gonna anticipate you're gonna be in the airport for 10 hours not knowing what's happening.
Well, I think if you cancel, there's probably like you can ask for a refund and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's probably, but no, I think I suspect their entire business model is built on delays.
Yeah, I don't know. But anywho, there was a girl behind me. I think she might have been just a year out of college or still in college. And Maggie thought she was Mormon. And she was talking to another really young 20-something there. And then there was like a 40-year-old guy sitting with them. And they talked for, we were on the tarmac for almost 3 hours. Then we were flying for 2 hours. We heard so much of their conversation. I was just like, I had the same conversations when I was that young. So it's not like I think I'm above it, but I'm above it. It was just garbled nonsense. I'm like, I can't stand to listen everything about life, about, I believe there's a God, but I'm more spiritual, or, you just got to really take people for what they are. You can't judge them for like, I bring up those examples because they're just nauseating to
They're
me.
wholesome.
Ugh, they're nauseating because I'm like, I've been down the road. I've talked about the same things. It's just you can hear the lack of experience, and I'm 30. I don't know shit.
The older you get, the less you know.
I do know that was an annoying ass conversation to listen to forever. They were very nice, whatever. They knew that I had a screaming baby and I was just trying to rock her to sleep, and they felt bad for me and would say those things as I'm walking up and down the plane. But I'm like, okay, thank you. Just don't talk about whatever you guys are talking about.
There's something uniquely infuriating about having a younger person who has really not experienced anything in life giving you wisdom, and not even like wisdom of like this is helpful wisdom, but sort of like
this is the root of meaning for this thing.
This sort of like I have the answers wisdom. And it's like, dude, no one's got the answers. Least of all you, whose like biggest experience was going to Panama City for spring break your junior year.
No kidding.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I mean, I don't. It's that old Louis C.K. joke, right? Like a janitor who's 40 knows more than you. A janitor who never finished high school and is 40 knows more than you.
Right.
He's been in love. He's probably been divorced. He has a kid. Yeah, and just it's weird. It's weird too. Like this is gonna I don't know how you'll take this, but looking now at groups of young adults, I didn't realize how horny everyone was. And it doesn't even have to be like a disrespect. It doesn't even have to be like a bad thing, but just how eager to couple. There's how much sexual tension is in the air at gatherings of young adults.
We're sexual beings, bro.
I'm not even hating on it. It's sort of like to have been around it and to just sort of like been a part of it, but not quite been aware, and then like sort of observe it from the sidelines and just be like, oh my word, so much. So much. Oh man.
Which people, people either want to like celebrate it and exploit it or suppress it or whatever, but the reality is it's there.
Oh,
weaponize
yeah.
it
And I don't
there.
even think. I think I was talking to.
I think that's probably a part of the reason why I felt like I was an adult and shouldn't be there. It's like, I'm satisfied. I'm a male. I know woman, and that you guys have a lot of pent up energy. That's probably part of it.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And it's just, dude, I gotta say though, looking back, I got no love for the Everetts. I was actually talking to Alan, his kid, about this last weekend. I got no love for the Everetts.
Because you think they're all suppression.
It's like I could get behind Christopher West. I could get.
There's a lot of Catholics that also probably aren't the biggest Everett fans. I'm not necessarily
Yeah.
one myself, but
Yeah.
I think I should probably defend them and what they've done for the church, which you might say nothing good.
Yeah, I just think like I like Christopher West, and I guess I feel like sex education, even if it's like abstinence based, even if it's monogamy and abstinence based, should be fundamentally sex positive. It should like acknowledge that sex is a great thing, and it shouldn't like somehow
And the Everetts are kind of not.
they're not like that. And also, I think my other frustration, and this is maybe the other thing I'm trying to point out about looking at these youth groups, is just like the way it was taught. We were always told like, oh, men are the ones who want it. Women don't really want it. And like men can make out and not be able to help themselves, but women can make out forever and they won't ever have trouble saying
They
no.
don't have the sexual desire. It's strictly on the men.
And just like finding out by experience that is absolutely nonsense.
Yeah, but Jacob, I don't know if they. I mean, coming to age in part of the same groups that you were part of, I feel like I can maybe say that I'm sympathetic to what you went through. I'm not saying it's 100% the same thing. I get that, where it feels like it's hard on the men to not be sexual animals, and that women just aren't. But
I'm just saying they are though. Like the idea that they aren't is
no, I'm
is
talking
bunk.
about the way that it's taught. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I could see where that comes from.
But being
Especially
taught
by
by men
like
who
college kids, college males saying this is because they're freaking just turned up on
you're
Mountain Dew.
gonna have to explain your point a little better because I'm not following you.
Sorry, I was jostling a baby.
Yeah, I could tell. I saw you.
How do I say this? Like, you're having young, unexperienced people try to convey what Everett, who is an expert at his craft, is trying to teach and warn young people about. And there's obviously, it may get mistaught to younger kids.
I think that the Everetts, the reason they're in demand is they're very good at getting young, earnest, religious people not to have sex, but actually very bad in terms of helping people have a healthy sex life as a human being longer term. But no, I think this idea is particularly like this idea that like men are ravenous sexual creatures all the time who want nothing more than the screw, and women
Are not.
are almost like helpless victims of this desire. You admit that was in the air and that it's like
Oh,
actually bunk.
I agree on both. I think
Yeah.
that it somehow I perceived that as I was getting taught that or
Yeah.
talked to. Yeah, I perceived that.
We
And
were even told that, I think, sometimes during talks. Like, it was actually even verbalized, sort of.
probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I can't think of an example, but I walked away from those things thinking that maybe not. That's not the words that were told to me, but that's what I thought. It's like, oh yeah, men are sexual animals with an appetite, and women are victims.
Yeah, and I just, like, it was not good for me. Because then, like, it really made me feel bad for even hitting, like, it really made me feel bad for hitting on women. Because here I am with this.
I just punched my wife. I just hit on my woman, by the way.
That's okay. You do what you want with your relationship. It's your relationship. But no, it just makes you feel like a brute, you know, like I'm the sort of thing. And like oh, these poor creatures, I just, it made me feel awful, really.
Kind of how some men feel about the feminist movement, like that they're pigs or whatever. They're getting told this and they feel bad about it.
Huh?
Maybe that's way too much of a tangent.
No, I don't quite understand what you're getting at.
Like there was you would have feminist groups really promoting like abuse to women cases. Like they'd really be like on the side of women where women were getting abused or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's a group of men talking about men getting abused by women, and
Yeah.
nobody was sympathetic to it because there's just this idea out there that it's impossible.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
promulgated by feminists, right?
Well, yeah, sure.
Or others.
Sure.
Whatever. I would say it's a feminist movement. Like, I don't think the feminists would have any sympathy for a man in that situation because they're on the side of the woman. Anywho,
I got pressured into having sex with someone in college, and this person ended up leaving the university, and the friend group that we were all part of, somehow I got blamed for the situation. So that's not quite the same thing, but I sort of like, if I was a woman, if the roles were reversed, right? Like 100% like she would have been, if she was a man, she would have been in the doghouse. But with me being the man, somehow like I'm still the one who was the asshole.
I don't know. I don't
But
know.
no, I'm
about-
just saying like I can even say in my own life like this has been a frustration for me. And yeah, like to what this idea that like men are the ones who are the pigs and women's are the poor victim sufferers. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's bunk. It's nonsense.
With regards to sexual appetite, with regards to sexuality,
There's differences between men's and women's sexual appetites,
Yes, but
not
they-
necessarily in terms of
they're not
degree.
right. I mean, I agree with you up to this point because I think it's on the man. Like in the social setting, I think the man has to be a man and say,
Sure, I'm not
Yeah.
disagreeing with you that like, I don't mean if you wanted to do that like where men are the ones that make the move, fine. Like,
But you think the Everts are kind of pushing this?
well, yeah. So
This,
before we bring it back to the Everts, just to kind of wrap up. I don't know. I mean, there certainly is. I don't know if you feel frustrated, but there is. I think because I think it's fair to even say it's not just an Everts thing, but it's sort of like a societal thing. But maybe societal is more about abuse. But it's this idea that, like, just sort of like women are always in the right in the case of marital conflict, and men are the like bad people, which is just not true. It's just not true.
I agree.
Yeah, it's like certainly there are bad men and women who are victims, but there are also like women who are manipulative and lying, and men who are victims, like 100%. And like, yeah, but I think so. Just to say, like, I think that I don't want to just like say, oh, the Catholics and their stupid like evil like concept. Like, no, I think it's actually this sort of I don't know where it comes from. If it's like the idea of the Madonna, I don't know where it comes from, but it seems to be something that we certainly like we can't seem to comprehend a feminine kind of evil. Like we see it as rare and the exception instead of like human nature manifesting itself in creatures who are female.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to the Everts, I think it's fundamentally not sex positive. I think that like probably Jason Everett made his money because he's good at like talking kids into not having sex, but that like fundamentally it's not sex positive. It's not like, hey, sex is a great thing, but don't do it yet.
Right.
It's like, be pure, and like, women are passive creatures, and like, this whole sort of just like, it's just really messy. It's just like when you really kind of read between the lines. Like, I remember hooking up with someone in college and feeling like, oh, they wanted to have sex with me, so they must not like me. And that's like a direct descendant of like having gotten my sex education from the Everts. Whether or not that was explicitly stated, people who want to have sex with you don't like you. But it was sort of like the implication.
Interesting.
Oh, this person wanted to have premarital sex with me. They must not like me.
Weird.
And it's just like, and because I was a kid, I didn't have the BS meter. Like I didn't have a good BS meter in high school. So I just sort of took everything for its face value.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my qualms with the Everts are more.
You would say there are also Catholics who have qualms with the Everts.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yes, not. It'd be more of like how they go on, like probably presenting a topic or going about it, not the actual theology. That's where I'm at. I think.
Can I eat another muffin while
Yeah,
you
let
make
me
your
get
point?
you a muffin.
No. You were making your point, but I'm going to get a muffin while you make your point.
Yeah, I think they are force for good, and I think they teach the right things. I think how everything's been going. Yeah, I think they're force for good.
You don't think though that some of the points I'm making, like you don't see how that is sort of built into their approach?
Not intentionally, no.
But just because you keep kids from having sex doesn't mean your message is good.
If you put it that way,
Just the headline.
if you put it that way, then yeah, I mean I agree. You have to teach it the right way. Like sexual attraction is a good thing. It's not like a sign of deviancy. I agree. If you couldn't hear Jacob, he said it is something that fundamentally makes you human.
Like it's a fundamental part of human identity.
Right.
Yeah. Do you need more coffee?
No, Lord, no, we're out.
Okay, we're out. Yeah.
I'm having way too much coffee, dude. I've been having way too much coffee.
You feeling caffeinated up?
I am going to be losing my mind. But I'm going to be losing my
feel a
mind.
little bit tense.
And I'm going to go to the bathroom at some point today and not have a fun experience. That is a TikTok that I think is just the funniest thing. It's like how coffee drinkers look at it. It's got this guy who's trying to looks like he's about to vomit, and they just make I don't know, like the sound of somebody go to the bathroom, just like trying to hold in all their shit. So just trying to hold it in. That's what coffee drinkers are. Okay, so
Yeah, no, there is probably a moral lesson in the submarine and the kid trying to please his father, even though he's scared to go, and somehow hastening to his own demise. And when we talked about Greek tragedy,
that is the ultimate tragedy.
You could make a point that sort of fits into the mold of the tragedy is already built into the identity.
It is such a tragedy. A man tries to please his father and has the courage to get over his fears. Say, this is a dependable submarine. They've done this for 70 years. They've been exploring the Titanic since the 60s. Like, we could trust the technology. I'm going to get over my perceived fears because I want to please my father. I want to make his Father's Day unforgettable. Crush! Oh my gosh!
Is it a tragedy of trust in technology, or is it a tragedy of trying to get parental approval?
Parental approval.
Yeah, I think
Planes crash, right?
sort of someone doing something they don't want to do in order to get parental approval and ending up dead because of it. It's sort of the...
That's why I think it'll get remembered. I think that's why I'll remember it. That's why I think people should remember this. Besides just how crazy of a situation going down to the Titanic in a sub, going to the bottom of the ocean in a submarine to see the Titanic, and then getting crushed yourself and remaining with the dead bodies from the Titanic wreck. It's amazing.
I just remember coming to this podcast when I got here. I was like, if we're going to talk about it, we have to talk about it in a way that when I listen to it, because I remember we talked about the Asian, the guy that liked killing the Asians. Yeah.
People aren't going to remember that.
But no, even now people don't remember the Asian nail filer's murderer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody cares. But so just how do you talk about something? I feel like for me with the podcast, how do you make episodes that sort of you can go back and listen to them 10 years from now and still get something from them?
Yeah, and history has no shortage of people above the rest of normal society that try to do amazing things. People going to the top of Everest, people going to space. It'll always happen. You always have
that's
people
my
that
thing.
can afford it.
I don't see it as a